getting there. There we go. Well, welcome to another Crooked Spine Show live with Nahum Vizakis, correct?
Nahum Vizakis. It was like 95% there.
Vizakis, sorry. And then I understand basically he has a phenomenal book and basically how to enjoy your working out from a spiritual perspective so you get overall body physically, mentally, chemically, psychologically, spiritually healthy and for the long run, not just for the short term for one. We've all gone through it where got in the gym, we've started, we've stopped, we stopped. Again, we're getting into January effect in a couple months for one too. Let's not do that by understanding the mindset of how we should treat our bodies. Maybe we do this because we don't see the physical results or emotional benefits of working out. That's why we stop. We just as important as using good form when lifting to prevent injury, so it is the right mindset to get benefits for your overall health when you're lifting. Nahum Vizakis, is that correct? Closer. Gives us what a lot of us are missing when bodybuilding to help us feel the benefits in our soul. His recent book, The Biohackers Guide to Spiritual BodyBuilding, he provides not only knowledge how to bodybuild for the long run and how to supplement safely, but also, which is much needed, lifting with the spiritual intention to enjoy the long-term body, mind, and spiritual benefits of lifting and working out. For the person just joining the gym or the one who is the long-term gym rat, we can all benefit from Nahum's knowledge. So let's get started, my friend. Why did you write the book?
Well, it's a culmination of all my learned lessons from, 10 years in the military and really 8 years of competing in bodybuilding and just being an athlete overall. I'm, very connected to my physical body. And everybody has their own specific journey, but I've saw trends and behavior patterns in a lot of people that I met throughout the years. So once I felt like I was really able to break down, the who, what, why, where, and how of all the principles, philosophies that I found work best for me, I want to share through my personal experience what can help others.
It's almost like you want to pay it forward, so no one else has to make the same mistakes you made. As a chiropractor, I do the same thing too. Why not get someone else to learn from experience and move forward from there?
I mean, that's the point of life, right? To take what you learn from your experiences and pass it down to the next generation or others that are maybe resonate with whatever issues or imbalances are going on.
That's the plan. And starting with being deployed in Iraq after 9/11, why was that the switch for you?
So when I was deployed in 2009, I was 6 months into a team leader position as an EOD operator. If anybody doesn't know what that is, EOD is essentially the bomb squad of the military, right? Mm-hmm. So we're the lesser known special operations branch in the military. And all of us work with all different branches. In fact, all services go to a Navy school in order to learn what we need to learn. So here I am, brand new, 6 months in and doing a lot of training. And I was a stud in school, right? I graduated with a 97.1 GPA, and I thought I was a man. So I was ready and looking to go to combat. Now, when I got to combat, and my very first mission that I ran, that I was in charge of, came across this mission that I thought was going to be an easy, quick, one and done. And I pick up this live RPG warhead, IED, and it was full up. And as soon as I picked that up, it's like time stood still for me. And I had a realization that, if somebody calls this phone, I'm going to be a pink mist. And for whatever reason in school, I was able to move through it and it was no problem at all. But when the idea of death, of being killed in this process became so real to me, it hit me in a way that I did not expect. And it was that, throughout my entire life, I've dealt with and or faced the concept of death that kind of haunted me. And that really made it real and brought it out in a whole new way. So I continued to run missions. And over time, that first mission it planted a seed that I didn't really even realize was planted until much later. And things just started to crumble for me for there. And as it crumbled, I got hit with some really hard lessons. I wasn't as proficient as I thought I was in the field. But it more had to do with relationships. I was very ego driven, right? And I was kind of drinking this Kool-Aid, what I thought I wanted and who I thought I was. And it made me realize that this isn't necessarily who I am or who I'm meant to be. It was from the propaganda and the conditioning and the way that I grew up, how I was taught I was supposed to be. And so that's where I attribute this to my first spiritual awakening, which really made me have to dig into places in my psyche that I didn't even know existed. And, I'm really grateful that I've been able to move through it and stepped into these places that I have, because now when I help other people, I work with a lot of veterans, especially guys that are former special operations that are dealing with the same thing. Mm. So it's much more widespread, but when you're going through it, you feel alone, right? I felt incredibly isolated just from others, from life itself. And those are the places where you do the most growth. But if there's a way to be able to help others to understand that they're not alone, then getting this out there is, I feel a part of my purpose.
It's almost the ego became humility to get you to see what you were missing, maybe in what you had not dealt with in the past or present for one also. And like I said, paying that forward to next veteran, next person, just in general, so they can experience a better life.
100%. And, up until that point in my life, I was 30 years old when this happened. And I realized that who I thought I was isn't who I really was. And then when you have an identity crisis like that, what do you do with it, right? Because a part of you is literally dying. Once you don't know who you are anymore, then you're not really to the place that you figured out. And what I came to realize over years of competing in bodybuilding and working with plant medicine and doing all these alternative healings and therapies is that I had some deeply ingrained, abandonment issues and rejection issues from my mother and my father. And I was trying to prove myself to the world. I was trying to prove myself to the authority figures that were in my life. And that never works long term. It doesn't happen.
Like if I win this competition, then I'll be fulfilled.
Then the world will see me. Then my mom will be proud of me. Then, right. I wanted to be seen, but I was doing it through placing all these external factors, shaping my identity. And I think a lot of people do that and don't even realize it.
Oh, huge.
Right?
Huge. Yeah.
So and that's, you even see it a lot in our religion. You place this idea of something outside of yourself is going to save you. Right? And everything is within, everything is inside of us. And when we shift that state of mind, state of being, and we become still and we allow ourselves to feel all the feelings that we've been running from through the go, process, it reshapes our central nervous system. Which is not, this is also parallel to the hero's journey, also the fitness journey, right? Mm-hmm. When you're coming from a place of ego or desire for external gratification in your fitness journey, you start taking too much performance enhancing drugs, you take stimulants, you push yourself too hard, you don't rest properly, right? And then over the years, that will take a toll and the body can only handle so much before it pops or it gives up or dis-ease starts to develop. And sometimes, everybody has to learn their lesson to their own degree of really stubbornness, right? But I do feel like we're living in a different world, in a different time, in a different place right now, where people are much more open to seeing and understanding ways that they have not really understood before, been exposed to before, and this allows for this information to be received much better. I've been talking about this for, since about 2014 when I first started working with plant medicine. And back then people thought I was, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Right. But
I like Frosted Flakes more, but yeah, that's mine.
Right. But now people are much more curious and much more open to these alternative perspectives and, alternative understandings, which, alternative because it's not the norm to what we've been taught or trained. Right. But you go down to South America, and this is a normal everyday thing for them. Even if you go down certain places in Africa or, certain other places.
Asian countries. Yeah. Asian countries have been down for thousands of years.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we're just reintegrating all these belief systems and thought processes and methods of healing that have just been kind of suppressed through the, we say the all the industrial complexes that have kind of swept the world. Right.
It's almost like it's become a social norm to look for alternative medicine, alternative healing, alternative thought, to get your health care versus going to original, just your doctor, just this person, this minister, this priest, whatever it might be, for their information versus, hey, it's all inside already. But
Right.
it also, I would assume it almost makes you more accountable for your own personal journey to get yourself healthy too, correct? Or well?
100%. Yeah. But that doesn't make, other people money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like chiropractic as well. Chiropractic is a major source of natural healing. When you realign, the body and the tissue, then that allows the energy to flow efficiently through your body. And then you can combine that with other methods like acupuncture, body work, things like that. That should be the norm, in my opinion.
Well, and it's also too, okay, once your body is at a certain point of health, what are you doing your own to exercise, stretch, move around, do red light therapy, whatever you want to do to get yourself to stay healthy? And I think
100%.
that's what people miss.
Yes, because once you get yourself aligned, then you can feel when your body is going out of alignment. And when you trust that feeling, it's trusting the feeling and not trying to force, I have a symptom, I got to take this pill to manipulate my body to do. No, that entire philosophy, that starting point is dysfunctional. And hence our society has been trained to be dysfunctional. So now that all this stuff is coming back, it's just more like a remembrance, right? And as people, like, you are obviously a healer, I'm a healer as well. And when we go down these paths, usually it's something that is not in alignment within ourselves. We go to this training, we go to this teaching that we're drawn to learn, and then it starts to manifest itself through our own alignment. Then we attract others, and we can see the misalignment of others because we see the misalignment within ourselves.
And I always tell people too, once you realize when you're not feeling well, when you're not being healthy, maybe seeing a chiropractor or something else too, you become your best doctor for yourself. I tell them you've graduated at this point. I'll give you a hat or something like that. If you want a hat, I'll give you a tassel.
I love it.
Where they understand now, because they were naive before, what health actually was before. By your teaching, by my education, my patients do for the same thing. It's that they have more knowledge to take care of themselves, because they may be a laborer, they may be a CPA, they may be a financial person, whatever it might be. They don't have that knowledge. There wasn't taught to them or given to them. So now they had an experience, maybe be back pain, neck pain, or just the willingness not to go forward. Now they hit their bottom. Now they have a way to build them up again in the right way to help mold them, because now they're teachable. Now they'll listen. For some people come in, and some people come in and they go, I ask them, hey, do you feel like you're invincible? I go, yeah. I go, then don't listen to my stretches. Come in when you want to. And until they want to listen, I'm not going to give them information, because they're not going to want to actually absorb the information.
Yeah, I call those people assholes. Always asking questions, but then they just never take action on it, right?
That's nice, Let me know when you actually do the stretches, and we'll talk about more stretches or more exercises we can do.
Exactly. But what's also beautiful about the people that do listen is that when they learn whatever it is that you teach them, then they go back to their environment and they see other people that may be struggling with the same problems in their culture, and then they're able to share their stories, and then more people get curious. And that is how this whole movement of true healing and health is growing, in my opinion.
And it's a profitable business in the sense where people want the information, so it continues to feed itself. It's basically anything business, right? Any business does well when they have personal referrals. When you've helped someone, at that point they pay like you said, pay it forward to somebody else. It continues to cycle when it's a good idea, when it's a good theory, and in practice it gets results.
Absolutely, man. I love it.
And going to your book too, Biohackers Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding, on page 10, you basically talk about a table based on physical discipline and with spiritual awakening. Explain that mindset, how you combine them together.
Well, I basically point out the difference between an ego-driven desire and a soul-aligned, heart-based desire. So the intention behind what we do is driven from our subconscious belief systems, but also the wiring of our nervous system. So if, like I mentioned before, if we feel like we need external validation without consciously realizing we do, then we're going to go to these extents that's going to literally hurt ourselves, right? But when we're connected to who we are, we know consciously when, okay, my body needs a break, I'm getting burnt out, I'm getting brain fog, my gut is getting out of balance, having pain here and there. That all that is education. All that is teaching us about where we're going out of alignment. And when we can recognize that and listen to it and honor it, we pull it back. But this also means to make sure that you're not trying to be somebody that you're not. I see that a lot in the fitness industry, especially now in the social media world. We have all these influencers and all these people that are just like videoing themselves working out and showing, their best physique ever. But a lot of these people that are shredded, that look insane, number one, they got great genetics. Number two, they're probably taking a shitload of stuff that we don't know about, or they're not being honest about, right? Because they want that validation so bad, they'll do anything to get it. Wow. And that is the unfortunate side effect of that external gratification and the ego-driven desire. Because people don't respond to if you're 9% body fat versus if you're 5% body fat, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that that's changing. I'm seeing so many stories. I mean, in the last 5 years, man, like the amount of competitive bodybuilders or even fitness competitors that have died from pushing it too hard, from taking too many diuretics, from not eating enough and overtraining, from all these different things to try to get that, in their mind, that perfection, that outward-based perfection. There's no such thing as perfect, guys. Nothing. It doesn't exist. Human beings are imperfect by nature, but the beauty of the imperfection is that weirdness inside of us is our gift, is our true beauty. And when we learn to embrace that weirdness, right, then we have that unique thing that connects, not necessarily to a lot of people through a screen, but we connect from our heart to someone else's heart. And a lot of times that's silent. You don't get a lot of external validation from that, right? You just have to trust that what you're sharing and what you're putting out there is going to touch somebody's life. And I found that out, for a while. I was running my own YouTube channel. I was doing a lot of astrology. I'm big into astrology. And then I stopped after 2020 because I was also very vocal about the vax. I kind of lost a lot of my momentum online, but I started meeting these people that were my followers and getting these stories that, oh, you changed my life 2 years ago and you really helped me see the light, or you really inspired me to do things different or go into this hobby that I didn't think was acceptable for, my family, my life, or to have the courage to stand in my truth and speak my truth to my partner when I didn't know, like all these different random things just from speaking my truth. So that I think that's another really important factor to consider, that when you are speaking your truth, you are affecting people in ways that you don't realize.
And it could take weeks, months, even years until someone actually either sees your video or responds or has a need for it. It's like having a commercial, right? If you're genuine, if you really believe in what you're saying and doing, and you're showing someone the results of someone who's being real, they're going to see like, well, I can connect to that person. They want that connection. And it's not just like, that's entertaining, but I want the connection. It's that old thing of like attracts like.
100%.
See that point, then they go, okay, this person is like me. What else can I learn from them? What else can I learn from them? Then transform my own self. Maybe that point, I have the opportunity now. If they can do it, why can I do it?
Exactly. And that is just, that's what the gift of authenticity, right? But authenticity, you really have to dig into yourself, because back when I was in Iraq and I was diffusing bombs for a living, I thought that was me being authentic at that time. I had to have a serious wake-up call, which I called karma, right? Karma had to come around and teach me some difficult lessons, but I learned them. And that helped me, that transformed me into a whole new version of my identity. I had to step away from all that external validation because it stopped coming.
Well, you're told this. Good job. You're doing the right thing. At that point, you're like, wait a sec, doesn't it feel right though? Why isn't it for me the right thing? And
it's that feeling that needs to be, front sight focused on the top of the analysis spectrum, if you will.
Yep.
Right.
And for yours, going back to the book, on page 12, you mentioned how supplements, biohacking, and things like that are spiritual responsibility. Give an example of that, please. How does that work? Clarify.
I'll give a perfect. So even with biohacking, peptides, any of these things that are helpful, they're very solid tools to be able to heal. But again, coming from an egoic, or unaware perspective, it can be still a tool that is still harmful. Case in point, I have a friend that got really into ice baths, right? And so he did this 60-day challenge where he was doing an ice bath every single day, and he was timing it. And he was going lower in temperature every day and sitting longer and longer every day up until that 60-day point, right? Well, by the 60-day point, he was down to like just above freezing water, I think 34 or 36 degrees, and he was sitting in there for 8 to 10 minutes. That's dangerous. That's not healthy.
Hypothermia, yeah.
Exactly. So there's a certain, and everybody has a different threshold, but if the purpose behind building that threshold is I have to complete this task that someone else laid out, right? I have to be stronger. I have to be harder. I have to face the pain deeper. Granted, to a certain extent, that's sometimes accurate, but there's a certain threshold where it goes from therapeutic to harmful.
Yes.
And that goes with supplements. So when you're choosing to take a supplement, what scaffolding are you basing that on? Did you just watch an ad and say, hey, this looks good because it has this effect, I want to try it? Or did you get diagnostics done? Did you look at your biomarkers? Did you see my body is deficient in this and that's why I'm taking this? Is it really structured? Or are you just doing the spaghetti method where you're throwing things at the wall, right? Not to mention that what brand are you taking? Are you sure that it's been verified? Is it just, all these additives? Does it have artificial colors in it? Does it have titanium dioxide? All of these different things that are toxic to the body where, yes, it may have some of the ingredient in there, but how do you know? And I see this in a lot of bodybuilding supplements. There's so many that everybody chooses the cheap route, right? That's why they're so expensive. Or even like a lot of the more hardcore bodybuilding supplements, they're putting illegal ingredients in there, right? So you have to be really careful. You have to know what you're looking at. And if you don't know, find someone that you resonate with that you believe does know and do your homework. Mm-hmm. And don't take more than what you need to optimize your body and your mind.
Who regulates supplementation? Who regulates supplements? FDA?
Well, I don't really trust the FDA either, but I believe GMP is one regulatory source.
But it's something where it's not pharmaceutical grade, so it's not going to be going through all these stages of actually being checked. Is it safe for you? Have they done studies on it, sample size? It's almost like you're just throwing stuff out there going like, hey, this is on discount. You try this, even though it has the same name, because they're not the same ingredients, not the same product.
So here's what I do. Here's my approach. And you can take your listeners can take this for whatever it is. But when I went to my microscopy course in 2016, I met the owner of Quicksilver Scientific, and so he showed us his labs. He showed us the liposomal delivery system, how it works, how it functions. So I got education on that particular company. So I use their company a lot. All right, I'm not affiliated with them in any way.
Yeah.
Right. But because I had the experience with the owner and he broke down what he does, how he does, he showed us pictures and video content of his labs, right. And of his process. So, I felt in my heart, like I could trust that because, I felt his energy and I saw what he did and he knows his stuff. Outside of that, I will look for just raw ingredients. And so I'm personally connected with a lot of doctors, compounding pharmacies, people in the industry. So I will ask them who they use, why they use it, right? Where their regulatory companies are. And because back in the day when I was heavy in the bodybuilding world, right? I knew a lot of people in that world and, I used a lot of performance enhancing drugs for a while. And there's this company in Southern California, actually, that was taking bribe money to write certificates for testosterone and other anabolic derivatives. Mm-hmm. So that I recognize immediately I can't really trust that, right? So So it comes down to knowing the right people, or knowing, how to, connect to the people that know the right people, and then finding out from there. Because it is unfortunately a world where you have to be very careful who you trust. So the best way is to really connect directly with, the owner of a company, or a representative of the company that can prove and show how they do what they do and where they're coming from. If you can't do that, then do some research, find raw ingredients for what you need, and then you can get a little capsule maker and just make your own capsules.
And I'm going to put out there too, is if you have a question about your supplements, what you're taking, and how absorbent is, and how maybe side effects also, email you.
100%.
Email. Hey, I have a quick question about this. I was on Dr. Crooked Spine show. What do you think about this? You're an open book. You've done it, you've seen it, you've gone through it. Why not just, like you said, just share your notes, pay it forward.
That's it, man. That's it. I remember back in 2011, 2012, again, when I was in my heyday of bodybuilding, we were using peptides back then, right? I was getting it from like all the pro coaches and stuff, but they came like, they were all gray area, like super shady stuff. And I actually, I had a friend that got put in the hospital he was taking melanotan 2. And there was some ingredient in the Lyophilized powder that was incredibly toxic to the liver. And he had to go to the hospital and have his whole body flushed out because his liver went into, it wasn't liver failure, but it toxified the liver. So I don't remember the exact name of it, but it toxified the liver so bad that he had an acute reaction to it. He almost died. It's crazy.
I actually, personally, I had a patient 2 weeks ago. His wife called Monday because he passed away over the weekend. Huge testosterone growth, pre-workout, it just became so. And he looked like a fit guy, right? They look like fit guys.
A lot of them do, man.
Lift heavy, lift 3-4 hours a day lifting, boom, popped.
Yeah, and I had a few really good friends. Boston Lloyd was a really good friend of mine. Rich Piana, I knew him fairly well. Dallas McCarver, I knew him too, right? And I even this female bodybuilding IFBB pro, Christy Enos. They were all, I was very close to them many years ago, and they're all dead. I even have another friend that had to have both his kidneys transplanted. He was on a list for 7 years, and he had to get transfusions 3 times a week. Man, that's no way to live. Like, slow it down. Yeah, and you see some of these people. The one person that comes to mind is this dude Togi. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's promoting, like, he's trying to make his test levels at 20,000 nanograms per deciliter. Why would anybody want to do that? You don't get any benefit beyond maybe like 2,000, and that's even pushing it. But 20,000, that's just asking to die. Like,
asking, I want more risk. That's what you want, more risk in your body.
Right. And that is usually associated with external gratification, because he probably has all these people that are coming back. Oh my God, can you do it? What are you feeling? How like experimentation, of course. Like I am a biohacker, and I feel like bodybuilders are kind of like, in the modern day, the original biohackers, right? We experimented with all kinds of stuff, but this is exactly why I wrote the book, because I made all the mistakes. And I've seen friends destroy their lives, relationships, die, like have organ issues, get surgeries, all these things by the time they're, my age. I'm 46 right now. A lot of guys, they can't train anymore, or they're just, in this constant state of recovery, or they have some kind of imbalance that's now permanent. And you don't want to be that person. You like have longevity, feel good. You want to be able to be 60 and pick up your kids or your grandkids, right? Like, and when you're 30 years old, you're not thinking of that.
Is it Reggie Golds that had that special 2020?
It doesn't ring a bell.
He's an older bodybuilder from when he had 2020, where he was on his 3rd back surgery.
Oh, Ronnie Coleman.
Ronnie Coleman.
He's had like 25 back surgeries now. That dude is a mess.
Crazy.
Yeah. And now he has to walk with walkers and he even says that he doesn't regret a thing, but that was his choice, right? When I started bodybuilding, I made a decision that I was going to get, start taking performance enhancing drugs, and I wanted to become a pro, and I was obsessed, zoned in, and I was willing to do whatever it took. But I realized that was me doing whatever it took to try to get that external validation. Now that I've learned that lesson, like yes, I'm on TRT for the rest of my life because I got off for 2 years, and in that 2 years I did a lot of work, biohacking, plant medicine, trying to get my natural stuff to start up again. But the highest my natural levels ever got during that time was 26 testosterone. So after 2 years of trying, I realized, and I just didn't feel like me. Like low testosterone is just as dangerous as high testosterone, just in a different way, right? So you need to be balanced. So for me, I had to accept that truth from the decisions I made when I was younger. Yes, I'm going to be on TRT for the rest of my life, and as long as my levels are balanced, I get my blood work checked every 3 to 6 months. As long as they're balanced, then I feel good, and I've come to accept that that truth for myself until maybe in 5-10 years from now, there may be some kind of medical advancement that comes along that can actually restart it. And I have that in the back of my head, right? Because I would like to be, not dependent upon something outside of myself, to be balanced. And, I believe that'll happen in my lifetime. So I'm taking it I take life one day at a time at this point, man,
It's almost like you've done what you can due diligence wise. Okay, I'm gonna still watch my numbers, see what's going on, see what else I can do to balance out maybe the risk of certain things I have to do artificially. But you're the exception to the rule. You're trying to help people now get to the point where they can enjoy working out naturally without doing that overall, which is I think is something that people need to see more of, and when people talk about that, so people go down that route. Because back then, like you mentioned, if you're a bodybuilder, you had to take something to get the look. Now, when did natural bodybuilding actually become a competitive type of sport?
Oh, natural bodybuilding has been there forever, man. Just most people don't watch it because the physiques aren't as impressive.
Okay.
But they're already there's a pharmaceutical company out there. I think they're called Regeneron.
Okay.
That has these 2 myostatin inhibiting drugs that are in, I think, phase 3 trials right now or whatever. That will, myostatin is basically the governor that's on it, that's in your DNA that allows so much muscle to be built, right? That's why, pretty much every bodybuilder and classic physique competitor, anyone that has a massive shredded body at that level, they have very low myostatin levels. That's why they're able to put on so much muscle, and that's why they respond so well to all these performance enhancing drugs. But there's a drug that's in the works that supposedly will just let your body build muscle without really much effort. Now that's going to present a whole new slew of potential problems, right?
Yeah.
And then you add in, I believe I saw that they're combining this with tirzepatide or retatrutide. And when you do that, like 10 years, we're going to see people walking around that don't lift at all and that are going to be shredded and jacked. And I don't really know how I feel about that. But society is changing so much so fast that we're also going to be seeing cyborgs walking around with technology put into their body. And so,
but there's always, the body is intelligent, right? So if it's intelligent, it'll if something's considered a toxin or alien to the body, it's going to reject it, causing other issues. So now you have that again long-term effect that they're not even studying yet. In 5 years, we didn't know this. Now we have to take this off the mark. Now we have these problems. So,
which happens all the time.
Naturally, eat well, think well, and work out enough to feel good, and that's all you got to do.
I think the big lesson in all of this, accept who you are.
Done.
Stop trying to be something you're not. Accept who you are, and allow yourself to feel good, and be just stay drawn to your purpose. And tune in to yourself. Not everybody is meant to be on the Olympia stage. Not everybody is meant to be a fitness competitor, right? But if you if you're good at running, then run, right? If you you need physical, stress, good stress.
It has to be something, yeah.
To be able to fortify that mental acuity and toughness, to be able to do that. And everybody has their own way. So the big fundamental lesson in all of this is tune out of the world and tune into your heart. And when you do that, your guide, your natural GPS will be here and not here. And this is where you will manifest great things in your life, whatever that is meant for you. And that's it, man. If you can keep it that simple, beautiful. Things will go well in your life.
It's amazing how after a workout, we have all these epiphanies how things should work. Like, oh yeah, I got to do this. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. It's like now all the distractions, all that stress hormones is gone. You focus on just what matters at that moment.
Absolutely, man.
Well, absolutely. I feel like at least 30% and more intelligence after workouts.
Agreed. That's why I love working out. It's all those endorphins flowing, getting that dopamine, naturally producing, and you feel more alive. You feel clear. You feel like you accomplished something, and that accomplishment gives you confidence, and that confidence makes you want to go out in the world. And it's the world that just tries to break that part of you that makes you feel like you're not enough. It
almost, even though the stress is still there, you can handle the stress better. And what I tell my patients, when you're physically better, when you're physically healthier, the stress of the world was there before. That can actually handle it and not let it affect you.
Yeah, 100%. Because when we take in or consume thoughts or things or substances, feelings, and this is even besides all the toxins that we're bombarded with. That's a whole different conversation.
Physical toxins, right? Yeah.
But when we stop consuming that's the stuff that makes our cortisol shoot through the roof, right? That's the stuff that we start to hide from ourselves. When we say you're married, right, and you're hiding from yourself, you're trying to be something you're not out in the world, then that's going to deteriorate your relationship, because the people that we're closest with, they feel you, they see you, they know who you are. If you spend any amount of time with them and shared, who you are. So I always recommend, especially when I first sit down and talk to people, look at your life. How are your relationships? How's your connection to money? How's your connection to your kids? How's your connection to your sleep, your wife or husband or significant other? And if there are these things that are constantly gnawing at you, which I find usually is the case, right? It's that trigger is your teacher, right? So if it's gnawing at you, what are you not looking at within yourself, and or what are you projecting out there that's perpetuating this gnawing feeling? Because that gnawing feeling is what's going to turn into dis-ease if you don't deal with it. And if you run away from it, it's going to come back in a different form, person, place, thing, and it's going to hit you harder every time, like a tsunami. So that's what I call the karmic loop or the karmic cycle, right? Stop running from your own truth. And when you stop, and everybody has their own level of difficulty that they will choose to move into. So when you can shift that and you can voluntarily do the difficult things that are good for you, like exercise, like eating healthy, like taking care of yourself, then you won't, number one, you'll be much more aware of those other unhealthy, difficult things that are trying to take over, right? And that gives you more emotional intelligence, as well as a deeper connection to your body, because the body represents the subconscious mind.
Boom. Yep.
Right. So if we listen to our body, then we can make better decisions. And when we make a good decision for our heart, for ourselves, and for what's right, according to our authentic truth, it's amazing how sometimes those poor, bothersome feelings just go away, right?
They weren't that important in the first place. They weren't even that important in the first place. You just made them that big of a problem.
Right. Or when someone comes in for a chiropractic adjustment, I'm sure afterwards they sit up like, wow, I feel different. Oh my God, I just had this epiphany.
Yeah.
Right.
They smile. They just smile a bit. I said, you just look better. You look like you're more relaxed. You look like you're more yourself, not like, oh, the world's going to fall on top of my head today.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
It's part of, I think, is when someone realize, and we talked, and a little bit, one question I was going to ask you is about, have you talked about the shadow before? I saw that you talked about the shadow a lot in your book.
Yep.
Explain what the shadow, because I did talk with someone a couple weeks ago, Dr. Bringberg. How does it really manifest in someone's bodybuilding, if you want to call it, when they're bodybuilding, and also how is it fixed? You kind of you fixed a lot of it already, but just not like focus on that part if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, so that is essentially we during this entire conversation we've been talking about pieces and parts of that, right? But the underlying overall view and understanding is how to face the shadow. The shadow is a part of ourselves that we are not consciously aware of. Good. Right? It's essentially the occult or the esoteric aspects of us that we have, and all esoteric or occult means is hidden, right? And the hidden is essentially trapped in our subconscious mind. And that is also hardwired into our central nervous system. So when we start to get curious and we start to, well, really, at least for me, in my life, I didn't start to become aware of it until things started going wrong in my life.
It's a switch,
right? So the world had to hit me with, negative experiences to actions that I was taking. And that, when it got bad enough, it made me realize, in regards to bodybuilding, it was when I was winning shows left and right at the local level, right? And then I decided I want to go to the next level. I want to go to the national level, and I want to win my pro card. In order to do that, at that time I was competing at the light heavyweight level. I was competing right around just under 200 pounds, like 197, 198. But at my height, I'm 5'10", I had to be at least 220 in order to be able to compete with the other guys. Because me, on the light heavy stage at nationals, I was like towering over everybody else. Those guys were like 5'7", 5'6", maybe 5'8".
So you're at the top of that level, but not there yet. Okay.
So when I went to go to that next level, I hired a coach, Dennis James. I don't know if you know who he is. He was 90s bodybuilder with like Ronnie Coleman and Flex Wheeler and those guys. Nice. And he loaded me up on this diet. I had to eat like 7,000 calories a day, and because I didn't realize at the time, but I was dramatically under eating. I never had a big appetite. So I was like, you expect me to, I was 2.5 months out from a show. I was like, you expect me to eat this? Are you kidding me? And he was like, bro, like, you're not going to grow on the amount of food that you're eating. So I started eating like that. Literally for like 3 weeks, my stomach was like a turtle shell out to here. I couldn't pose. I could barely breathe. I could barely get down all this food that I was trying to. Now he did recommend that I up my gear a little bit, but it was to an acceptable amount at that time that I thought. I was still well over 2 grams. I was well under 2 grams a week. So in comparison to everybody else, that was mild, right? So I started eating all this food, and for the first 2 weeks, I was struggling, man. I couldn't work my abs. I was huffing and puffing, sweating, going up.
You're like 9 months pregnant, man, at that point.
I really was. And then suddenly, one day, I woke up sometime around that 3-week period, and it was just whoosh. My whole body I had pumps like I had never felt before. And I gained felt like 10 pounds overnight. Wow. And I blasted up to about, I think I was like 215, and I got even leaner. And then I was like, whoa, okay, I'm listening now. And the next show I went to, I came in best conditioning I ever had, but I was still, I was still competing at the local level. I had to do a local show in order to be able to qualify for the national show. So I won that show, and I beat a couple guys that thought they were going to win, and they were like, "Who the hell is this guy coming in here?
Where'd this guy come from?"
Right. So then I went. I took about a year, and to gain some more size, because off season I need to be about 250 in order to be able to come down to about 220. Okay. Right? So that was when I started talking to some other guys, that were up there, and I was like, all right, so if I really want to get to this level, I'm gonna have to do some more drugs, and I'm gonna have to eat this amount of food and whatnot. So, I tried insulin maybe twice, and I felt like I was gonna die. So I stayed the hell away from that. My body was so sensitive to it. Like I was literally drinking Gatorade and eating all the sugar I could. And I felt gross afterwards. It was just not. I was woozy and dizzy and felt like I was going to pass out. Yeah. So I started taking HGH and IGF-1 at the time, which seemed to work really well for me. But I was still struggling to get up there to that. Like I got up to about 245, 247. But I felt so shit. Like I got sleep apnea, and I was just my body was just felt like it was breaking down. I did not feel good at all. Okay. And so, but then I got an opportunity to be on this reality TV show. It's called House of Huge. It's 2013. Okay. So I was like, well, damn, this is my chance, right? Like, at that time, like Jersey Shore was big, and the whole reality TV show. Yeah, reality shows. Yep. So, and this is something new in the bodybuilding world. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna try to hang. And when I dieted down, I was able to get down to about 220. I feel like I was looking pretty good, but something else happened very last minute. So I was working with a new coach, and I trained for 6 months for this show. The day before I was supposed to hop on a plane, I was living in Vegas at the time. I had to fly out to Miami. I was going to do nationals in 2013. And we were supposed to go out 2 weeks early to go live in this mansion with 7 people, like for peak week, right?
Okay. Yeah.
The day before I went to get on the plane, I get an email, not even a phone call, but an email from the executive producer saying, hey, one of the sponsors backed out and we lost our ability to do this show. Sorry, it's not happening anymore.
Wow.
I already bought my plane ticket. Everything was already all set. So I got so stressed. So I head out there to Miami because I already had my plane ticket. What else was I going to do? I was like, I'll figure it out along the way. And once I told my coach this too, he got pissed because he had also planned a trip out there. He was going to be on the show. I was like, dude, like I'm sorry, man. Like,
got the email. All
right.
right.
How do you feel, right?
Yeah.
So things started kind of falling apart when I got out there. Thank God, like I had a friend that lived close by. He took mercy on me. He was a pro, and he let me stay at his house. But coming the last couple of days, I was so stressed out that I was just holding water. My cortisol was all over the place, and I came in really watery, and I placed 33rd out of 38 in the heavyweights. I mean, these guys were just genetic phenoms. I thought I looked good until I got next to these guys. Yeah. And I was like, these just muscle bellies were so full and fat and vascular. And I let it get in my head, and I just couldn't dry out. And my self-confidence just started withering away. And that was actually the point of my next sort of identity crisis, because I had attached myself to being a bodybuilder. My identity became bodybuilding. So when I didn't place good at a show at this new level that I wanted to be at, I got depressed. I worked so hard and pushed myself. I forced myself to try to be something that I was not. Now I have a pretty good physique. I have an athletic physique.
Got it.
It's good. Like maybe for like classic physique or like men's. I tried men's physique once. I hated the posing, so I couldn't do that anymore.
Okay.
And classic physique had not come out yet.
Okay.
Right. So I stepped back from bodybuilding, and that was actually right on the time I started massage school, and I had a massive spiritual awakening, and I started working with plant medicine, and I came to realize that, like I can be athletic, I can take these philosophies of bodybuilding, but not step on stage and live it as a lifestyle to be healthy. And that's where like the real shift and the real like vibrational difference of bringing my spirituality into my bodybuilding philosophy came into play.
And then when you go into that too, how did that into getting into the spiritual part of bodybuilding? How did that manifest or link into that also? So
I took about a year off from like heavy training and like, in like hardcore dieting. I just let myself eat whatever I want. I actually went vegan for a while, and I started doing a lot of juicing and cleansing and trying to clean my body out, because I felt like my body was just very unhealthy. I started doing yoga. The first time I tried to do yoga, man, I was just like sitting in like, lotus pose. And it was so uncomfortable. But after a while,
it's humbling. It lets you know what you can't do. Yeah.
It made me realize how rigid I had been.
Okay.
Right. So I started doing a lot of yoga for a while, actually. As I was going through massage school, I realized how important flexibility is. I started learning more about the fascia. And then I went to FST school, functional stretch therapy. And that's when I started to have a lot of SERs, somato-emotional releases, fascial unwinding. And my body was just starting to release all this gunk that had been essentially this armor that I had put on myself from, transitioning from the military. Bodybuilding kind of saved me, emotionally speaking, from when I transitioned from the military to civilian life. And I did my very first bodybuilding show all natural. It was in Iraq, by the way.
Yes, I saw your video on that. Yeah.
So when I was in this place, I stopped for a while. About 2 years later, I started training again. And as I was doing this, I was also working deeply with plant medicine, and I was doing massage work, and I was really coming into my gift. And I found that if I took too much anabolics, it would numb my intuition.
Okay.
And so it was numbing my ability to feel. And I was starting to get stronger and stronger visual imprints when I was working on people. So that was really, I wanted to tune more into my intuition, understand what this was that was coming through me. And I was helping people. I was healing people. I was doing this beautiful work. So that's when I started to integrate tuning into my body as I'm training. I made it more of like a meditation. So instead of training myself like I hated myself, right, just trying to be as strong and go as heavy and raw, I would slow things down. I would close my eyes. I would listen to binaural beats. I would pay attention to my breath, because breath is huge. When your central nervous system gets realigned, you connect your breath to the movement, and it optimizes the Bohr effect in the body, and it allows you to really maximize blood flow to the muscle tissue, flushing of the lactic acid, connect the mind body connection. And I would get better visual imprints of what I was feeling when I was training, what my body needed. Am I avoiding doing a certain body part because I feel weak in it, or I feel or I feel it's out of balance somehow? For a while, I would avoid it, right? Like especially legs is a big one, right? Like a lot of people avoid legs because of the sheer amount of pain. Well, I would slow it down. I would try different leg movements. I would do lighter weight. I don't go that heavy, right? I would find lighter weight and more deliberate movements really help me to get that deeper connection into my body. And the deeper connection to my body, I felt helped me connect to my heart more and really helped to attune to my intuition. And I just made that a constant practice. I allowed it to teach me how to really fortify me knowing who I was and not paying attention to, what other people might think of me, right? I wasn't worried about the outside anymore. And when I backed away from the sport like that, it really allowed me to connect to myself deeper. And then I came back to the stage in 2022. I did a master show just to see, that was after I was off all performance enhancing drugs for 2 years.
Okay.
And I came, and I literally, like, I jumped on 300 milligrams of DHB a week. That was it. If for you guys don't know what that is, a dihydroboldenone. It's like a combination of Masteron and Primo.
Okay.
So it's very like a DHT derivative, and I just got shredded like immediately. I was like, oh well, let's see if I can do a show and how I feel. But what was interesting when I did that show, like I won first place. It was a Jay Cutler Classic in Las Vegas. But when I won, I didn't feel anything.
Perfect.
And so I was like, that's a confirmation. I'm not seeking that external validation anymore, and I don't really feel the need to jump on stage anymore.
Perfect.
So that jumping on stage for me, initially, I realized it kind of came full circle, was me seeking that external validation. Now, I'm not saying everybody does that. Some people, like you look at Chris Bumstead, he's a great champion because he's humble and he's honest and he's authentic and he's clear. And he stopped at a young age when he realized that he wanted to be a father and want to move on to bigger and better things. And he created a beautiful life and a great empire. For me, I had to start at the beginning of the hero's journey, for that external validation. And then, I came around. And when I got to that place when I was 42 years old and I stepped on that stage for the last time, it kind of felt like, a nice appreciation, a goodbye to at least that part of the sport. Yeah. But the spirit of everything I learned through the processes that I went to lives within me. And I still live my life with these ethics, morals, values, and, systems and processes, because I feel that is a scaffolding for my life that makes me consistent, stable, and authentic to myself. And if you can, and that's where the healthy bodybuilding world comes in, right? You do your diagnostics, right? You face the parts of yourself that you feel are vulnerable or weak. You don't shy away from them. You eat according to what your gut needs, right? To optimize the good bacteria and minimize the bad, because a lot of people have parasites and dysbiosis and all kinds of bad stuff. I go into that a lot in my book as well. But when you focus on these things, right, then your intuition is clear and you're willing to go into the difficult parts of yourself without needing that external validation. And it creates a solid, I feel almost like a protective bubble around you. And you have a very strong bullshit meter. So you can point out things that are not good for you, right? You don't go into excess. You don't go into things. And once you are in alignment, if you do start to go into excess, it'll make you so uncomfortable that you will come right back. It'll be like a boomerang effect. And sometimes that is a great teacher as well. But as long as it's teaching and you're seeing the lessons and you're understanding what's best for you, right? What's best for me may not be what's best for you. And anybody that's trying to tell you that well, I would run away from them immediately, right? But if someone can give you the tools to help you see what your own stuff is going on and help nudge you to come to your own personal conclusions and see your own, how you get in your own way, that is what will set you up for success in life. And this can be done in many different ways. This is just, if you're an athlete, if you love to train, if you love to work out, and you're in this world, or if you know people in this world, then this is one way that you can identify how you're out of alignment with yourself and how to get back into alignment with yourself. Really, just you have to trust your heart and stop trying to prove yourself to the world, because there's nothing to prove. That's just your own trauma talking. And really, at the end of the day, this is all facing your inner trauma or facing that inner shadow, and what that shadow is trying to teach you. And as you learn it, I kind of see it like a part of you is underwater and these bubbles that are coming up. And that once the bubble pops, it's an awareness, it's an understanding. You integrate it, and then you literally shift your vibration. And through shifting your vibration, you're realigning your central nervous system. You know, because the central nervous system is the signaling mechanism that drives all of our decisions, really. Right? Yep. And so now your GPS is in proper alignment. And with proper alignment comes your God-given role in this life, you know, to share this gift with humanity, however that looks.
It's almost, you took a journey to get to that heavyweight national championship bodybuilding competition the hard way. And then you did all this mind and body, I guess, internal reflection, and got there again the easy way.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's almost like it. And when you work with clients, how do you get them to see that? And how do you get them to change their perception of where they want to get to, but an easier way?
Well, I've gotten to the point where I can, you know, I read their posture. I read, I'll ask open-ended questions and I'll see how they respond.
Goody.
I'll see their body language. I'm sure, you know, when you work with someone, you can see their body language tells you just about everything that you need to know to identify their starting point, where their fear is, where they're not looking at themselves, right? I also, depending on what they resonate with, I use microscopy to look at their blood, which can identify patterns of behavior. I use astrology if they're into that, so that they can connect with that aspect. I use different postural assessments to identify. I'll use vibroacoustics to see how well they relax, where their breathing is at, right? All these different things. I'm sure you do a lot of the same stuff, man, right? Like
you have a standard of the assessment to see to where they are, and then from there, how to get them to a certain level of where they can get to.
Right. Meet them where they're at. And then one step at a time, see how much they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go. And then allow them to guide the process. That's it. Now, the more diagnostic information we have, the better, of course, right? And I like, especially if they're dealing with, you know, something severe. Like I've worked with people that, you know, recovering from complete and total knee replacements, to fibroids and cysts, to cancer, to type 2 and type 1 diabetes. All of these different things are mechanisms of education for us.
Huge,
right?
It's almost giving you a chance to go, okay, this is where you, like you said, where you are, whatever condition you have, whatever medical or physical condition you have, let's get the next step. When you start doing that, how do you change their mindset if they have one already into more of learning about their internal body, more the spiritual part of working out and body, but physically getting better than what they're probably used to or what they've heard about?
So a lot of that depends upon their belief systems.
Got it. Okay.
Right. Okay. So again, meeting them where they're at and then asking open-ended questions and kind of like what if scenarios. Right. Okay. And then whatever they respond to, like a lot of it, you know, comes down to their belief in a higher power, God. Right. Like, so I speak to a Christian in a different way than I'll speak to a Buddhist, than I speak to a New Age person. And a lot of people right now are really exploring existentialism, or, you know, what is out there, right? What kind of higher power is out there? So I have studied all of those, pretty much every religion out there. For me personally, I feel that my approach is more the shamanic understanding and connection. But I believe in Jesus Christ, right? I understand the teachings of the Buddha. I see the point or the concepts of Hinduism with Judaism, and I personally look for the similarities in each one.
Perfect.
Right, and then whichever belief system they connect to, then I try to meet them there and shape the understanding according to where their mind and health is at. And then each step of the way, I allow them to ask me questions. I feel like this. I encourage people to talk, because a lot of people too, they don't know how to communicate their feelings, right?
Yeah,
that emotional intelligence, human beings in and of themselves, it's like we're just learning how to figure that out right now in this generation, right? Yeah. So I feel blessed because I've had to do a lot of work to get here, but I feel like I have become a very emotionally intelligent person. All the stuff that I've worked through, here's another thing that I really recognize. Good. All the things that I've learned about myself, each time I learn like a great lesson about myself, I end up seeing in other people. Yep. Right? So, and that just is a testament to that we are all one. We all have the same organs for the most part, right? We all have, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 ears, a tongue, teeth. We all have the same fundamental aspects of ourselves. And when you dig down to that depth and that layer, then really the answer is always the same. It's just a different pathway to get there. Mm-hmm. That's it, man.
It's almost giving them a chance to tell their story and how they want to perceive their spirituality, whatever that might be, and then linking it, because you have the knowledge, to now their body and how they can treat their body as their soul, their temple, to bring that into existence so they can see the result of a healthier person.
100%. And it really comes down to how much do you love yourself? Mm-hmm. It's that true love. You got to open your heart. We've all faced some kind of heartache, some kind of pain, or some kind of fear or trauma that has closed our heart off. In shamanic terms, when we go through trauma early in life, what we call that soul fragmentation, where there's so much overwhelming emotion, a part of ourselves goes somewhere, and that constriction in our energy, in our nervous system, it gets locked in place. So essentially, depending on how many events or experiences we've had like that, and this can be like past lives, then we spend our lives unraveling these things and having to reintegrate that piece of the soul. But that also means that we have to refeel all those feelings. But when we're finally in a new place, number one, we have to be able to feel safe. So creating a space where we can feel safe to be that vulnerable, because let's face it, it's incredibly vulnerable experience. But the more you embrace vulnerability, the depth of vulnerability that you're able to encounter is, I feel, equal and equivalent to the amount of empowerment that you carry. Vulnerability equals power. Now, when you're going through it, doesn't feel that way. But whenever you're that vulnerable, it means that you're able to just shed, that imposter syndrome goes away. You're able to shed yourself to the world and not care what other people think. And when you can get to that place, you're free, man.
It's amazing, like you said, but it takes someone working with you usually to get to that point where you're emotionally unstable. You feel like this is the bond, but I can't go any further. And once you get, like you said, because I did another interview too with someone who does shadow work, it's almost like you've reconciled with that part of your past. Now you can move forward. Now there's nothing else holding you back.
That's it, man. That's it. And when you can break it down to what complicates things is when there's an misunderstood or shadow-based emotion that's still circling around in there. It's that emotion that makes you confused, makes you not sure, but what if it has to be more complicated than this? No, it's not complicated. You just have to accept the feeling of it. That's it. It's the feeling, it's your mind, it's the ego that wants to wrap its mind around it, know everything, know every nook and cranny, and to a certain extent, that may teach you something, right? But when you're finally ready to let it be okay, it'll move through you. And when it moves through you, it passes through, and that moving through teaches you, it brings it to conscious awareness. And once you have that, you have shifted the vibration of it. And once it's gone, it's gone. It ain't coming back. Now, the universe may test you every now and then, right? Which bring back possibilities of, like, say you go through a breakup, right? You go through the heartache, you forgive and you allow it to be okay. 6 months, a year later, you might meet someone else that has the same red flag, but this time you're in a different frequency. You're going to see it. And you're like, nope. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. We're not going to play that game again because I have learned that lesson.
But you have to go. You have to understand when you see that, it's almost like, okay, ding, 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 ding. Something else is going on. Now you're unconscious. I would assume picks that up and go, okay, hey, I've seen this before.
Right, because now your central nervous system is reattuned to a different frequency, and when that vibration comes in, now it hits your nervous system in a different way. And that's spidey senses, right? When you hit your nervous system, it feels wrong instead of feeling right. Normally, when people are drawn to toxic situations, they're drawn in from the curiosity of, what is this making me feel?
Yeah.
I see this a lot, especially I'm a man with women, right? And women with men. They're so drawn to these toxic people because they're either like they're hot or they're extroverted and they're not extroverted, or there's something about them that makes them see something that they wish they had.
Yep.
Right. And then they go into it and realize that that's just another a polarized expression of their own trauma. And that's just not really who they are. They just want to be that way because the world told them they wanted that.
Social norm.
And it always, no matter which way you look at it, always comes back to the same thing, man.
No. And you've done a phenomenal job explaining your story, how to get people past their own hurts, for example, or way to say it for one. How do you want to wrap up the show? How do you want to get people to understand your book, your life, and also your coaching too, to get them to the next level of just wellness?
Well, that's a good question. This has been an amazing conversation, and you've asked awesome questions, and I really appreciate you bringing me on. You know, I want to be able to make my lessons and make this knowledge and wisdom available to as many people as possible. Good. So if you resonated, to your listeners, if you resonated with any of this information, please go ahead and get my book and go to spiritualbodybuilder.com. Or you can just go to Amazon and type in the name of the book, the Biohackers.
The show notes has all the links too, so we're good to go on that stuff.
Okay, sweet. Take everything that I've written in there and apply it to your own life and see how it works. And if you have any additional questions, you can just contact me directly, and I'm happy to help. I am here to serve, and I'm here to help whoever that is willing to do the inner work. And that's really the only one caveat, is you have to be willing to voluntarily go into your own stuff and do the inner work. You're willing to do that, the world is your oyster, my friend.
Mm-hmm. And I've been a gym rat for probably 30 years plus. So reading your book and going through the book you gave me online, a lot of it is just looking at your workouts as part of your life, not just a workout. And
100%.
realizing how that can help your life outside of the gym, outside of the physicality, so your mind and body work together, so you're self-validated in your daily job, family, relationship, anything you want to do to make your life easier and not feel like everything is so on you all the time. So thank you for letting me let me see that book and actually enjoy reading it myself. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, brother. Working out is a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And when you make it a lifestyle, the principles that you imbue upon yourself, the discipline, the consistency that you create, that gives you confidence. You get ahead of any kind of external stressors, right? Mm-hmm. So your body is already used to positive stress, and then you know how to deal with life so much better and so much easier. And that confidence carries into the boardroom, it carries into the bedroom, it carries into the workplace, or wherever it is you're at, or whatever it is that you're doing. You take that structure, that discipline, it creates a frequency, a vibration. So when you're walking around, number one, you're proud of how you feel, of how you look, right? You feel good in your own skin. Number two, it creates a decisiveness in your life, because now you're tuned in, and any kind of insecurity or any kind of not knowing how to deal with something, it strips the edges off of that. And it allows you to own your life.
Nice.
And really owning your life, and whatever way you do it, like everyone should be doing some kind of movement, some kind of exercise. Movement is life, right? So it may not be bodybuilding or weightlifting for you. It may be pickleball. It may be mountain climbing. right? It may be running. It is whatever it is that you're doing, do it with this scaffolding, this structure of eating in order to be able to optimize your efficiency in whatever tools you choose to appoint to it. And when you do that, like, you become a subject matter expert of you. And that's really about becoming the CEO of your life.
Nice. And you said there's no perfect, but can you work towards something so you feel and look the best you can for that moment in your life?
100%. Like, striving for perfection is a trauma-based response. You want to strive for performance off of performance. So whether performance is spiritual enlightenment or performance is, getting a 6-minute mile for 6 miles, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing, there are metrics to be able to measure that, right? Breath work too, right? Like you don't even have to go anywhere. So whatever metrics are in your field, you challenge yourself to meet those metrics, and then you bounce it off of how you feel. And if you bounce it off of how you feel, right? Like, maybe I've even seen some people go too far with breath work. All right. That can be unhealthy, or anything can be unhealthy. Anything can be very healthy. It all matters on you tuning into yourself and also getting the diagnostics too. There's certain things, autonomic functions and things that we can't feel or we can't see. But the more that you understand it, the more you'll know what to look for. And the more you realize, something's off. All right, I got to go get more diagnostics. And okay, I see that I'm, spending too much energy here, or my mitochondria isn't functioning over there, whatever it might be. Okay. And if you're sleeping good, if you're eating good, if your circadian rhythms and all your rhythms are in alignment and things are moving smoothly, I'm not saying things are going to be easy, right? Like, life, I don't feel like is meant to be easy. Life is meant to be fully lived and expressed. Mm-hmm. And so the more that you can anticipate the stressors and learn how to alchemize them, understand them, and then live to your heart's desire in every moment, then that gift is what's going to keep on giving the people around you. And when you do that, when you have that effect on people, when you're carrying that vibration, that's going to inspire other people. And that's the gift that keeps on giving, right?
And that's where you're at right now, helping people out. Because I have links for the book in the show notes, your website for consulting too, and also helping coach people through their life struggles, getting next optimal level for them. Thank you for my show. Now, this has been good for my audience, but also my personal self, to get a deeper sense of why I do things. So thank you.
I appreciate it, brother. Hey, one more question I got to ask. What is that light that's like behind you?
It's like a little light I got for.
Oh, okay.
One of those things.
I thought for a minute that might be an EE system. That's what I was.
No. I'm not that exact, but yeah, I have some infra stuff I do dealt with. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second for one. Thanks for watching, guys. Give me 1 second to end the show real quick, and we'll chit chat a little bit.